How to fix this German shear that's already been sharpened wrong. So, you've improperly sharpened a pair of German shears. You've tried to work the ride line, and now the ride line's across the blade, the tip's not cutting, it's pulling, you've got a real issue. Or maybe you're following behind another sharpener. Either way, you want to try to get these where they're going to cut. You can't grow metal back. You can't make them cut like when they were new. Now, I've been to some of these sharpening conventions, and there's guys that are very knowledgeable. Don't get me wrong, but they put the hollow grind back in, and they remake the shears. We're in a business. I mean, we don't have time to do that. And most of these shears are, you know, less than $150. I don't know about your time. My time's valuable, and the amount of equipment and time you'd have to put in, and the hairstylist's not going to appreciate it. Get the shears where they can cut. If they're too upset, take them as a trade-in. You can always turn around and sell them for whatever, you know, get some money out of them, or use them at home to cut coupons or what have you. And then just, you know, bite the bullet and buy a new pair of shears. It's just the right thing to do. So, if you've already have the damage done, and what we're talking about is a ride line that goes starts going all the way across, it's stripped, this type of thing. There's a couple of things you can do. Number one, I go back to my handy dandy nail buffer. Those of you that know me know I love these nail buffers. And this one happens to be really nice because it tells you the grit. You've got 240, 320, 1000, and 3000. I hardly ever use this side. Some of them won't tell you the grit, but you can kind of feel with your finger and tell. Now, this is not the emery board. This isn't what you file your nails with. These are what you go on the outside of your nails with. This is what gives you this nice shine. So, what I'll do on these, this will be one that's the exception. I might go to the 1000 grit and just lightly go across the inside. The reason I'm doing that is I've got it too slick now where it's pushing hair, it's not cutting. I need to create a little bite, a little bit of a bite in there. Don't overdo it. You don't want to ruin that edge, but just, and you could do the 3000 grit, but I like the 1000 just to create a little bit of a bite to it. You're not going to be able to really correct the inside. And then go back and sharpen the outside again. Don't polish it. This time you're wanting to have a little bit of teeth, a little bit of chewiness to it. So it makes that, can you hear this one? It's quiet. It really should have sounded more like this one that's never been sharpened. It should have a little bit more of a rhythmic whisper to it. It's kind of a ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. So when they cut through the hair, they can hear it. It has a little bit of that sound. When I go back and sharpen the outside, first of all, I'll probably try to do it at the same angle that's on here. This one is, usually it's like a 35 to 40 degree angle, something like that. And I won't go to the polishing step. I don't want it, as I said, I want it a little bitey. And after I get my burr, I don't bother taking them apart because this is corrective sharpening. We got the problem from taking it apart, working the right line. This time we're just trying to get it to cut. So I'm going to pull up a burr. I'm going to, however your technique is of cutting it off, you can pull the two blades apart where I'm pushing this way, pushing that way, pull the two blades apart, and then open it to knock the burr off. You can also cut it on a paper towel. Cellophane is something you haven't tried. Cellophane kind of works good to cut it off, but I might, if I don't have a paper towel or the cellophane, I might use toilet tissue or puff tissue, Kleenex, and I'll cut through maybe 2 or 3 ply, so it's a little bit more. What I'm doing basically is so that when I cut, I'm protecting the other blade from that burr so it doesn't scratch up the inside of the other blade of the other blade of the shear. So that's the purpose of cutting through a paper towel. Do a few cuts, check it. If it cuts, well, you dodged a bullet. If it doesn't, here's what you might want to do. Lower, let's say if you did it at 30. Now remember, I'm using American measurements on our angles. Just very quick rundown for people in other countries. In the USA, if I'm sharpening, and can you see my machine here? Let me turn it up so you can see what I'm talking about. If I'm sharpening something that is right straight flat in, right up and down, in the USA, we call that a 0 degree angle, not 90 degree. If we were flat all the way here, that would be 90 degree. In between is 45. 45 is going to be the same for all of us, universal. So what I'm saying, if whatever angle I sharpen it at, I want to move it up maybe a couple of degrees blunter. So in my case, if I sharpen this at, let's say 35, I might want to make it 33 on one blade. Don't polish it. Don't shine it. Use something like a medium grit, whatever. If it's microns, maybe 15 micron. If you're using the grit type abrasive papers, do it, let's say maybe a 800, 1000 grit. Cut your burr off, test it again, and hopefully it works. You want to do it in increments. You don't want to just try to recreate the whole thing. If that doesn't work, go with the other blade. Do kind of the same thing. And just keep piddling with it, and I think you'll eventually get it to where it will cut. I would test it on hair afterwards. I don't always test all my shears on hair, but you want to make sure it's not pushing. And I'm going to grab a mannequin here. You don't have to have a whole mannequin, but this is a shear that I fixed that was that type of a problem. And I don't know if you can see, but it gives me a nice crisp cut right down to the tip. So double check it on hair just to be sure. And this is one of those shears, even though you're correcting what you did before, once again, the answer is less is more. Do a little bit. It's possible just roughing up the inside a little bit with a nail buffer might make it work. It was interesting how they checked in Germany. They checked the alignment on some of these shears without taking them apart. They just kind of checked them, but you can sort of eyeball it. I mean, if you've had any experience with this at all, you can kind of eyeball it and see whether the blades need to be bent in toward each other a little bit. Be real careful. Ask permission before you do it. I had a shear that I was positive would bend because I knew the manufacturer, knew all the stories on it, and I just decided I needed to tweak it a little bit. And pop. That had people in the front room of the office. They heard the ping. So don't bend without permission. Don't bend unless you're wearing glasses. And be willing to replace the shear, which is what we did, even though I had asked permission first. Because it's just, I'd rather surprise people by giving them more than they expect than less. So if this was helpful to you, please like, please comment. If I'm on this journey along with you, been sharpening 30 years, but there's still more to learn. If you have some tricks on how you have had experience fixing your shears that have that type of a ride, please let me know. And another suggestion, if you go into a salon and you see this kind of crazy ride like this on here, and you say, oh man, who sharpened those last? You need to be careful because maybe you sharpened them last. There were early days that I didn't know as much as I know now. There'll be days in the future I'll know a lot more than I know now. So there's always a growth pattern for all of us sharpeners. So be kind to other sharpeners. Be kind to yourself. remember sometimes less is more on some of these shears.